Most guys heading up to the last frontier think they need to pack an absolute hand cannon to survive the bush. They drop thousands on massive Magnum rounds that kick like a pissed-off mule and cost $10 a trigger pull. But relying on raw overkill usually just leaves you with a flinch and half your freezer meat completely blown out. Look, out there, you do not need the loudest boom. You need the round that drops a 1,000-pound moose just as reliably as it stops a charging grizzly at 30 paces. Today, we are stripping away the gun counter myths to reveal the only true do-it-all cartridge that Alaskan guides actually trust their lives to. Starting our countdown at number 7 is the .308 Winchester. Now I know some of you are already rolling your eyes and calling this a beginner round, but let's look at the actual specs before you start typing angry comments. You are typically slinging a 165 or 180 grain projectile at around 2,600 feet per second. It delivers solid terminal performance and reliable energy transfer, making it a staple for caribou and smaller black bears down in the lower 48. But let's look at the gel test simulation and the raw terminal ballistics. When a high-quality 180 grain bonded bullet hits bear gelatin at 200 yards, you get a massive initial wound channel and beautiful controlled expansion. The lead core holds together perfectly, retaining about 90% of its mass as it punches through 20 inches of synthetic tissue. It does exactly what it was engineered to do, delivering excellent weight retention and stopping power for medium-sized game. Here is the technical insight you need to understand about this cartridge. The .308 Winchester operates on an extremely efficient short powder column, which means it achieves a full and consistent powder burn even out of shorter 20-inch barrels. This internal ballistic efficiency leads to incredibly low extreme spread and standard deviation in your muzzle velocities. That translates to predictable drop charts, meaning your projectile goes exactly where you want it to. Shot after downrange shot. Now we have to run it through the wallet test and the harsh reality of the Alaskan bush. Honestly, the cost per round is fantastic, often sitting around $2 for premium hunting loads, letting you practice all day without taking a second mortgage. But here's the deal breaker. This caliber just does not have the sheer kinetic energy needed to reliably neutralize a massive coastal brown bear at close range. It lacks the deep penetration required to punch through heavy shoulder bones on the biggest predators, leaving you dangerously undergunned when you suddenly become the hunted. Stepping up the game to number 6, we are looking at the 7mm Remington Magnum. When you are staring across a massive glaciated valley and need to reach out and touch something, this cartridge is an absolute laser beam. It eats heavy for caliber projectiles for breakfast, typically slinging a 175 grain boat tail bullet at right around 2,900 feet per second. That gives you incredible downrange energy retention, making it a favorite for picking off mountain sheep on steep Alaskan ridges. When you run this through the gel test simulation at a whopping 500 yards, the results are downright surgical because of the insanely high ballistic coefficient. It slices through those nasty crosswinds like a hot scalpel. Upon impact with the synthetic block, the long profile of the bullet initiates rapid but controlled expansion, carving a devastating wound channel, while that thick copper jacket keeps the lead core intact for deep straight-line penetration. Under the hood, the mechanical insight that makes this tick is the classic belted Magnum case design paired with slow-burning propellants. That brass belt around the base allows the cartridge to headspace directly off the rear of the chamber rather than the shoulder. This ensures an ultra-consistent seeding depth and primer strike, while the slow-burning powder creates a sustained pressure curve that maximizes velocity across a 24-inch barrel, giving you that remarkably flat trajectory without creating dangerous chamber spikes. Looking at the wallet test, the damage is definitely a step up, costing you about $3 to $4 a trigger pull for top-tier copper solids. But let's be real. Here is the deal breaker. This thing is a notorious barrel burner because it is a heavily overboard cartridge pushing massive amounts of hot powder gas through a narrow neck. Sending it downrange too often at the practice bench will literally scorch the throat of your rifling. You will start seeing your tight groups wash out and get sloppy way faster than standard rounds. And frankly, if you stumble into a thicket of alders and face down an angry grizzly, a skinny 7mm bullet lacks the massive cross-sectional area needed for true immediate terminal performance. Now we get serious with number 5, the 45-70 government. Listen, when you are pushing through thick alder brush and your visibility is cut down to barely 15 yards, this is the heavy hitter you want in your hands. It feeds on a massive 405-grain hard-cast lead projectile, pushing it right around 1,800 feet per second. The recoil shoves your shoulder back like a charging linebacker. But the terminal performance on angry predators is completely undeniable. Diving into the gel test simulation, the results are just brutal. A wide, flat-nosed, hard-cast bullet does not rely on rapid expansion like a modern polymer tip. It just punches a devastating, massive, permanent wound channel straight through over 30 inches of synthetic tissue, crushing any heavy bone in its path. Looking at the mechanics, the brilliance of this round lies in its straight-walled case design paired with a wide me-plat projectile. Because the front of the bullet is completely flat, it initiates a massive hydraulic shockwave the microsecond it impacts heavy tissue. That straight-walled case allows for extremely consistent ignition of large powder charges, ensuring that heavy chunk of lead keeps tracking perfectly straight without deflecting inside the target. Running the numbers for the wallet test, the damage to your bank account is roughly $3 a trigger pull for premium bear defense loads. That is not terrible for the raw mass you're getting. But let's be real. Here is the massive deal breaker. The trajectory of this cartridge drops like an absolute cinder block past 150 yards. It is strictly a short-range hammer, which leaves you completely out of luck if you spot a trophy caribou across a wide-open 400-yard tundra. I know the traditional lever-action fanboys will hate hearing this, so sound off below in the comments if you actually trust this rig outside the deep brush. This cartridge is definitely a solid insurance policy for close quarters. But wait until you see the absolute monster waiting for you at number 1. Because it makes this classic look like a specialized toy. Escalating to number 4, we have the absolute legend, the 30-06 Springfield. Listen, your grandfather probably dropped a mountain of meat with this cartridge, and it still gets the job done across the Alaskan tundra today. It routinely eats 180 grain or even 220 grain projectiles, launching them at around 2,700 feet per second. When you squeeze that trigger, the recoil punches your shoulder with the dull thud of a heavy framing hammer, letting you know you just sent a serious payload downrange. Looking closely at the gel test simulation, the terminal performance of a heavy round nose bullet is just relentless. Upon striking the synthetic tissue at 100 yards, A 220-grain projectile expands into a perfectly uniform copper and lead mushroom. It does not fragment violently. Instead, it uses massive retained weight to drive a devastating, deep wound channel through over 28 inches of resistance, crushing simulated heavy bone without deflecting off course, peeking under the hood at the mechanics. The true genius of the 30-06 lies in the standardized 1 in 10-inch twist rate found in almost every barrel chambered for it. That specific rifling pitch creates the exact gyroscopic stability required to stabilize an incredibly wide weight range. From lightning-fast 150-grain bullets all the way up to those heavy 220-grain logs. It completely eliminates keyholing and ensures optimal terminal ballistics regardless of what you feed the chamber. Running the numbers on the wallet test, this cartridge is an absolute steal, setting you back roughly $1.50 a round for basic hunting loads. But here is the brutal deal breaker you have to accept. Because this is a long-action cartridge, the rifle receiver is inherently heavier, and that bolt throw is significantly longer than modern short-action systems. When your adrenaline is spiking and you need a lightning-fast follow-up shot on a wounded bull moose, racking that long bolt can feel incredibly clunky and stiff, slowing your cycling speed when fractions of a second actually matter. Entering the elite tier at number 3, we are looking at the 300 Winchester Magnum. When you step out of the dense brush and find yourself staring across a massive Alaskan river basin, this is the absolute workhorse you want slung over your shoulder. It slings a 190-grain polymer-tipped projectile downrange at roughly 2,900 feet per second. When you touch it off, the recoil snaps back like a rogue tow cable. But the downrange ballistic performance is completely undeniable for reaching out and touching a bull moose across a canyon. Diving into the gel test simulation, the sheer transfer of kinetic energy is absolutely terrifying. When that streamlined polymer tip smashes into the synthetic block at 400 yards, the polymer insert is driven backwards to force rapid mechanical expansion upon impact. You do not just get a standard wound channel, you generate massive hydrostatic shock that completely devastates the surrounding synthetic tissue. The lead core mushrooms out perfectly, while the heavy copper jacket keeps the mass intact, ensuring the bullet drives deep enough to reach vital organs, even at extreme distances. Looking at the mechanical depth of this round, we have to talk about the short case neck combined with the belted Magnum design. Because it was originally engineered to fit into a standard long-action receiver, the designers had to push the shoulder forward to maximize powder capacity. This means when you are seating extra long, heavy for caliber bullets, the base of the projectile actually sits deep below the case neck and protrudes directly into the powder column. While it delivers massive velocity, it requires an incredibly consistent powder ignition and perfectly tuned burn rates to prevent dangerous pressure spikes inside the chamber. Running the numbers on the wallet test, the damage to your bank account is definitely steep, typically sitting around $3.50 a trigger pull for premium match-grade hunting ammo. You get serious bang for your buck on long shots. But let's be real about the absolute deal breaker here. When you're hunting in the thick timber and a black bear pops out at 30 yards, the blistering close-range velocity of this cartridge causes unacceptable meat damage. It expands far too violently at close range, completely blowing out the front shoulders and ruining a massive amount of harvestable meat that you worked hard to pack out. Closer to the crown at number 2, we have the undisputed king of dangerous game, the .375 Holland & Holland Magnum, When you are tracking a wounded brown bear into the thickest alder tangle on Earth, this is the heavy artillery you want chambered. It slings a massive 300-grain solid or controlled expansion projectile downrange at around 2,500 feet per second. Squeezing off a round from this absolute cannon delivers a deep, rolling shove to your shoulder rather than a sharp punch, ensuring you can recover quickly for a follow-up shot. Looking at the gel test simulation, the raw terminal ballistics are almost hard to comprehend. When a premium bonded 300-grain bullet impacts the synthetic block at 100 yards, it does not waste kinetic energy on massive superficial expansion. Instead, it retains nearly 100% of its mass and plows a devastating permanent wound cavity straight through 40 inches of heavy-density gelatin. It is engineered to crush the thickest shoulder bones on the planet and still reach the vital organs without deflecting off course. Diving into the mechanical depth of this legendary round, the secret to its reliability lies in its long, gently sloping case body and prominent brass belt. That iconic taper was specifically designed over a century ago to guarantee flawless feeding and extraction in bolt-action rifles, even under extreme freezing temperatures and filthy field conditions. Because the brass case tapers so smoothly, it will strip from the internal magazine and slide right into the chamber with practically zero friction, ensuring your rifle cycles perfectly when you are staring down an angry predator. Running the numbers on the wallet test, the damage is absolutely brutal, setting you back roughly $5 to $8 a trigger pull for premium dangerous game ammunition. And honestly, here is the massive deal breaker you have to accept. This caliber requires an extra long Magnum length receiver, which automatically makes your hunting rig significantly heavier and bulkier to pack around the high country all day. Hauling a massive rifle and a heavy box of this brass in your pack for a 10-day remote backcountry hunt will totally drain your stamina, making it complete overkill unless you are exclusively hunting the absolute largest predators alive. Finally, we have arrived at the absolute pinnacle of Alaskan survival. The .338 Winchester Magnum. It dominates this list because it perfectly bridges the gap between our runner-ups. It gives you the flat-shooting long-range trajectory of the .300 Winchester Magnum at number 3. But it hits with the devastating heavy bone-crushing power of the .375 Holland & Holland at number 2. You are chucking a massive 225 grain bonded bullet down range at roughly 2,700 feet per second. Squeezing off a round delivers a heavy, authoritative push to your shoulder, reminding you exactly why this is the ultimate insurance policy. Taking this apex predator into the gel test simulation reveals absolute terminal perfection. When a premium 250 grain partition bullet strikes the synthetic block at 200 yards, the front half expands violently to create a massive initial wound channel. Simultaneously, the solid rear shank of the bullet retains over 90% of its mass, driving a devastating path straight through 40 inches of heavy tissue and simulated bone without ever deflecting. Under the hood, the absolute brilliance of this cartridge lies in its highly efficient case capacity to bore diameter ratio, because the internal powder column is perfectly matched to the heavy caliber projectile. It utilizes medium burning propellants with extreme efficiency. This internal harmony results in incredibly low extreme spread and standard deviation in your muzzle velocities, ensuring your point of impact remains laser accurate at distance while keeping chamber pressures completely manageable. Running the numbers for the final wallet test, the street price is surprisingly reasonable for the immense power you get. You're looking at spending about $4 a trigger pull for premium-grade hunting ammunition, offering incredible bang for your buck when your life is quite literally on the line. There are no fatal flaws or deal breakers here, just raw, unapologetic terminal performance wrapped up in a cartridge that fits perfectly inside a standard-length rifle action. So there you have it, the absolute definitive truth about surviving the Alaskan backcountry. Stop wasting your hard-earned money on gun counter hype and paper ballistics, and start investing in terminal performance that actually puts meat in the freezer and keeps you breathing when things go sideways in the brush. Drop a comment below and let me know if you are packing the .338 or if you are still stubborn enough to carry something else into grizzly country. If you want the raw truth without the fluff, lock it in right here.